So hello everyone, that was Summer Bliss by Ocean Bloom, free to use. Today we have in the studio Marcelo Desvalls from Finca Viladellops and Marcel Mersky.
Sí,
I say that
sí,
more or
sí.
less
Muy
okay?
bien.
So welcome, thank you very much for coming.
Hi Dominique, how are you?
Fine, thank you. So before we start, I just wanted to mention that next week we have the Barcelona Wine Week starting on the 3rd of February to the 5th. And I would definitely recommend you to go if you're interested in the wine world, because it is truly interesting. It has, they have lots of wine tastings, workshops, round tables. It's just a big buzz of wine, so I would definitely recommend you going. And also on the 5th of February, from 7 o'clock till 10, I think it is, in the Palau de Pedralbes, you have Mujeres del Vino, which is women wine makers and sommeliers, and so it's truly recommendable too. So welcome again. Yes, we're going to start off talking a little bit to Marcelo. I would love to hear about your project, because I know it sounds fascinating. You have like a wine village in the Massís del Garraf, is that right?
That's it, yeah. Well, it's something that we created. Well, I am so lucky because it's not something that I created by myself. It's something that I'm making wine in a specific place that is Massís del Garraf. Massís del Garraf is quite near from Sitges, Vilanova. It's this kind of mountains that are extremely limestone. So what's happened? This place that I'm making the wine, it's plenty of limestone, and it's plenty of history, like 1,000 years. So in all those years has been a lot of things that they have doing the people who works in this place in this little village. So right now I am trying to put all this village that belongs to the property to show to the people to come to visit us. And of course, the most important for me is to make a real good wine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Because from what I understood, it's like different projects in the same project, more or less, no? Apart from making wine, you also have like little places where people can go and spend a weekend, is that right?
Yeah, in the beginning, I started with the winery, because the winery was created in 1877, but it was not for many years. We don't make the family, we don't make any kind of wine. So in 1994, I started making wines with a new project. I always say that the project in Finca Viladellops is a fantastic Mediterranean varieties, only Mediterranean varieties as Xarel·lo and Grenache. But after that, we start also with the enoturism. Mm-hmm. And also we start rebuilding some houses, and we have some rental houses as well. So we have different types of business already in Viladellops: the winery, the enoturism, the rental houses. We are very focused in the history of the place. And also we developed some solar panels, mm-hmm. Solar panels, just to try to improve all the organic, because Viladellops also is under organic certification. So we have to try to be as much as
committed to your philosophy, no?
Yeah,
as organic as possible. Because it's right. I believe that in 2025 the whole area of the Penedès should be certified organic, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the first appellation that's going to be 100% organic. I think that to be organic to make wines organic, of course, is important, because as healthy as the wine, better is the wine. But sometimes the people don't think that they are buying organic wines and they are going to be alive much more years. I think organic wine is to be much more balanced with the landscape, and respectful with everything, with the environment. So for me, this is the most important thing when I'm making organic, because we can talk about, Dominique, we can talk about in the wine also with the sulfites and many things, but first of all, the wine have to be good, even if it's organic, even if it's natural, or even if it's conventional, whatever. But organic is respectful with the nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I agree. Marcel, do you have any thoughts on organic and more conventional wine making?
Yeah, I think that was a really good point that Marcelo just mentioned. With first of all, the wine has to be good. So when I'm doing tastings, I quite often get the question like, "What do you think about natural wines?" So what do you think about organic wines? And I always have the same answer. For me, the first important thing is that the wine is good. And if it's then natural, nice. If it's organic, nice. If it's a conventional way, that's also okay for me. So the first thing is that the wine is good. I think the natural wine is a really interesting topic, and I think it's a really helpful thing to keep the topic of wine relevant, especially amongst young people. Because if I'm talking with my friends from Germany, they ask me, "What do you even do there with this wine?" Because they think it's such a complicated topic, and I think the natural wine trend or the industry really helps keeping the topic of wine relevant amongst young people.
Yeah, I have the feeling that there's a big movement going towards natural winemaking, simply because it's almost necessary in a way, I guess, with all the climate change and everything, to truly respect the soil and to truly avoid as many chemicals and fungicides as possible. Although, as you say, at the end of the day, we want to have a nice glass of wine, no? But respecting as much as possible, I think, the environment.
Well, I think that the word of natural, I think that it's too much, how to say, invasive against other type of wines. I will talk about radical or rational wines because I think that when you are doing, because the world of the wine world is so big, and I think which color you prefer, red, brown, yellow, red, whatever. All the colors are nice, and all the wines, they can be nice, and there are many people to enjoy different types of wines. So when talk about natural, doesn't mean that it's not more healthy than organic or biodynamic. I think that the type of the philosophy that when they make the wines is different than conventional, or is the type of methodology that they produce the wines. Okay. But I think that the most important in all this style of winemakers, natural, biodynamic, or organic, is to respect the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
A quick question: your winery already it belongs to Massís del Garraf, but also to the part of the natural park? Because so you don't have any pesticides, chemistry, not even allowed there, right?
No.
Because
So
I think it's really interesting.
In 2005, we certify everything under organic certification. So we don't use any kind of chemicals. We don't use any kind of insecticides. We don't use any kind of things.
Yeah.
So, and also right now in the roof, we put some solar panel just to provide the energy to don't get any kind of fossil energy. So, but it's something that is our belief or conscience that. But we have, of course, we are in the middle of the natural park of Garraf, and also we have a lot of nature. And one of the big problems that we have is the wild boars, that it's plenty of them.
Yeah,
and they like the grapes also.
Yeah, and I suppose they don't have as much water as they used to have, so they go get their water from the grapes, no?
Yeah.
Because what do you do for water there? Do you have what is the situation in the Massís del Garraf? Is it?
Well, Massís del Garraf is a terroir, because the word of terroir is a French word. Here in Spain we will call terruño. That means, for me, there are three elements to define a specific place. That one of the places, one of the words is history. We have the history. The second term is soil. We have this kind of limestone soil, and the third word is climate. We have this kind of climate. Many of the people that are listening to the radio right now, they are living in the Massís del Garraf, Castelldefels, maybe in Sitges or in Gavà. So you know that every morning at 10 o'clock in the morning, they start this kind of the wind that comes from the sea. They call Levante. This wind in the summer, they arrive to the vineyards and they refresh the vineyards. So we have this kind of influence of the sea in our vineyards. And this kind of influence of the sea, they will approach.
It
They will
depends.
give, they will give this kind of singularity to
Okay,
our wines
okay.
in the Massís del Garraf.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I suppose it also helps with mildew and stuff like that. The wind of the sea.
Yeah. Most of them they refresh the grapes in the night, but right now with the climatic change, every time it's much difficult because the inclements of the weather is much more radical, and the summer they start being more radical. So we have these last 3 years has been a very dry season. So some of the best vineyards that I have in my house is the old vineyards, maybe 80 years old, 70 years old. Some of them they didn't survive with this kind of stress hydric.
Yeah.
It's like a person. So I always say that one vineyard is like one person. It's the same. If you take care from April that start raising the vegetation in the vineyard, since September that is the when you make the harvest. During all those months, if you don't do nothing, the vineyards they will be sad. They will don't give you any kind of good grapes. It's like one person. If during all this during 5 months, if you don't brush your teeth, if you don't change your clothes, and you don't nothing with your body, probably after 5 months you will be horrible. You will be sad. So, and I will say that you have to take very care of the vineyard to get good grapes.
And what altitude do you have your vineyards at?
We're about 350 meters, more or less. One of the things that they are good in the Massís del Garraf, that the orography, it's quite different. And most of the vineyards, they are surrounded by forests. So surrounded by forests, you have plenty of animals, insects, and different elements. And also the forest, they give different aromas that it can be difficult to express here in the radio. These aromas sometimes they apport and they give different things to the vineyard.
Have you I'm sure you have visited that area, Marcel.
I was not at your winery, unfortunately.
Oh, you have to tell your story.
But I can tell you the story. I told it Dominique before. So I came to Barcelona 3.5 years ago, and I didn't know anything about wine at all. And so I bought myself a book. It was explaining wine, grape varieties, and how to actually taste wine. And I thought, okay, I need to try this in practice. So I went to the next store, bought myself a bottle of wine, and took it home with me. And it was a bottle from you, actually. It was a bottle from you, the Garnacha Tinta that you have. So your wine was actually the first wine that I drank consciously on my wine journey. So I didn't make it to your winery yet, but I was in Sitges, in Hospital de Sitges, which was really interesting to me because they have Malvasia de Sitges there, and I learned about the uniqueness of Malvasia, that it's like originally coming from Greece, and that there's like a lot of fake Malvasias in the world that are like labeled as Malvasia because it was really popular in the past. So it's a really interesting region. I also tried some other wines from there, and also that it's a natural park close to the sea makes something really unique that you don't find a second time in Spain, I think, like this.
Well, most of the best areas in the world, these places that they are the soil, there's very poor soils. To make a good wine, you have to need a very poor soils. So because I always say that the vine is a plant that they have a lot of vigor. If you put a lot of water and lot of nutritive, it will be impossible to control the vigor. So they will make almost like a tree. So you need, and now if you think about the best areas in the world or in Catalonia, you go to Terra Alta, poor soil, Priorato, poor soils, Montsant, poor soil, Garraf, Massís del Garraf, poor soils. So all these areas, they are habituated in the history just to grow the olive trees and the vineyard and, well, this kind of poor
yeah, they have to suffer
grow.
a bit, no? Yeah. And because your main grape varieties are Grenache and Xarel·lo, and they're both pretty good for climate. Well, for sort of, they are quite drought resistant and stuff, no? So they're quite good grapes to have in this present day, I would imagine, no? Garnacha and Xarel·lo.
Of course, that you know, the varieties. The people, when they think about varieties, when they think about grapes, they think that all the grapes they are the same and they change the name. But you know, all the varieties is that thinking about the dogs. When you're thinking about one Chihuahua and another, tell me another dog.
I don't know.
Retriever?
German Shepherd.
German Shepherd. Okay, both they
bark.
they bark and they have a tail, but they are completely different.
Yeah.
So Pinot Noir, that is from Burgundy, it's completely different from Grenache. You know, Pinot Noir, they love cool weather. They love another climate. So if you put Pinot Noir and you try to make a good Pinot Noir here in the Mediterranean, probably they will never make as good as Pinot Noir as in a Pinot Noir you have in Germany, Marcel, or in Burgundy.
Yeah.
So what's happened? Grenache, if you try to put Grenache in an area that is cold weather, probably it will be impossible to make a good Grenache. So always they are the Mediterranean varieties in white and in reds. And also you have another continental varieties. And each one of the places, they have his own climatology. So people here in Spain, they think that the Albariño and Godello and Verdejo, this is the best white wine. But then you can go to the Mediterranean and you can find a Grenache Blanc, you can find a Picapol, you can find a Xarel·lo Blanco, you can find another varieties, Merceguere in Valencia. You know, great white varieties. And it's completely different from the varieties from the north because they over there they have more acidity and here we have much more balance. They are different.
Yeah. But are you considering going to planting more grape varieties, or will you always...
No, we are focused only in those two varieties. What's happened? You know, if you, in our property is about 60 hectares of vineyard, and the property is quite big, no? What's happened? In the last 3 years, we started a project in Viladellops in our property, searching for the more limestone terroirs. They are this kind of soil that is extremely white, with a lot of carbonation, calcium in the soil. This kind of plots, this kind of places, all viticultors they didn't plant vine because it was too aggressive the soil. But right now we have another type of roots, and we are be able to put this kind of Grenache in this kind of soil. So it will be, I think, it will be fantastic with this kind of minerality, this kind of saltness, and this kind of, it will be great different Grenache in those. So I'm trying to develop in different soils in the property with planting Grenache, and they will apport different types of Grenache.
That's really fascinating. I think the same grape variety, depending on the I guess the little changes in each plot will give you a different kind of wine. And are your wines barrel aged or?
Yeah, some of them. Right now, the people, you know, Marcel, that you are making tastings, you know that many sommeliers now they are thinking that they are wines that they are aging in barrels. Seems that they are not good. But this is not true, because sometimes when you abuse when you abuse about the barricks, or you abuse about other way to make the wine, it can be horrible. So any of the tools that you have to make the wine, you have to control, and you have to be very careful making the wine. Because when you make the wine, the first aromas are the primary aromas. It's the aromas that they came from the fruit, from the grapes. The secondary, they are the aromas that they came from the vinification. And the third one, they are tertiary, they are the wines that they are making from the aging, or the container that has been aging in the barrels or whatever. So in the tertiarios, in the third term, you have to be very careful, because you can kill all the rest of the aromas. So of course we work with barrels, because I think it's a tradition. But very careful, using good types of wood, and not always new, sometimes second year, third year, fourth year. So it's something that is very respectful.
French oak?
Yeah, French oak. And it's not because it's French or American, ooh la la, it's French, it has to be more expensive. No, because, you know, the American oak, they have the genetic is different from the genetic in the forest in France. So French oak is much more respectful with the aromas of the wine, and American oak, they have another characteristic that is always fantastic, but is quite good for Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot or wines that they are much more tannins. That American oak, they have this kind of vanilla and coconut flavors.
And do you use other kinds of deposits? I mean,
well, we have now some concrete tanks, that Nesto, and inox tank as well. So we have 3 lines of work. The entry-level wines, we don't use any kind of barricks. We use only inox, and then we have the Finca Viladellops that we use some barricks, but in very short terms, aging in barricks, and then we have other wines that we are with other type of vinification.
and chestnut, do you use for chestnut castaño?
No, only oak.
Only oak.
Only oak.
Okay,
Only oak.
fine. And you, Marcel, what do you? Well, let's talk a little bit about you too, Marcel. If you'd like to introduce, so you can also tell our listeners what you do. And
Thank you very much. So I think it already became clear I'm from Germany already. I come from Germany, live here since 3.5 years, and I had nothing to do with the wine world before. Even though my parents had a restaurant, but I didn't have anything to do with wine. So I came here and I started learning about wine. And I started doing wine tastings around 1.5 years ago, and now I'm the manager of Salud Wine Studio, where we host all kinds of different wine tastings. But for us, it became really clear, really fast that we don't want to do like the classic wine tastings. We want to more create wine experiences, because what we realized is that especially young people between 20, 35, they are maybe interested in wine, but they don't want to come and sit down and listen for 2 hours to a sommelier explaining them something and telling them something about how much sulfites this wine has, how many months of oak aging. Because if you tell someone who doesn't know anything about wine, this wine has 12 months of oak aging. Okay, is that a lot? Is that a little? Even if you tell them, yeah, it's like a standard thing or it's a lot, they still don't know anything about this. And so what we do mainly is we have different wine experience concepts that we are hosting at our location in close to Arc de Triomphe, and our goal is more to tell a story with the wines and not to like read out technical informations and read out a technical sheet that we get from the winery or from the distributor. It's really more about creating an experience for the people and offering new concepts than the standard sit down, listen for 2 hours and 5 concepts, drink 5 tastings, 5 wines. It's not that it's bad, but I think there's a big gap between people who don't drink wine, who don't like wine, and people who know a lot about wine. And in the middle, you have people who know a tiny bit about wine, who want to enjoy wine, but not in this classic teaching way.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, Marcelo, for example, your history, the history of the area with the castle of Olèrdola and all the rest, it gives way for a really nice story. If Marcel had a wine tasting with your wines, for example, I think there's a lot of storytelling behind that too.
I think it's great that the way that they focalize the tasting, Marcel told us, because sometimes me that I am making wine, sometimes I'm going to some tastings and they are not interesting, but when you are talking, somebody explain you what is surrounding the winery, what the histories that they are, this kind of storytelling that they are surrounding the winemaker or the life of the winemaker or even the winery, it's quite much more interesting. The other day, Dominique, when I know you, the other day in a tasting, and it was Luis Tolosa that introduced this kind of wines. He was introducing the wineries only with the history. He didn't talk about the wine. He's focused in an experience of the place, in the experience of how they start making the wine, and it was quite interesting because at the end, it's the wine that has to be talked about. The people have to enjoy the wine.
Okay, well, thank you. We're just going to do a little music break, and then we'll be back briefly. Okay, so here we are back with Marcelo and Marcel. We're chatting a little bit about both of their projects, and we'd just like to hear a little bit more about, Marcel, what you do with your wine tastings, because it sounds very interesting, and I think it's so nice that the city is starting to have quite a few of these, wine tasting venues where people can go and learn about local and not local wines, but I think it's truly a good space to promote local Catalan wines,
Yes.
quite honestly, because I think people are, most people come visit the city or Catalonia often know about the bigger, well, the more famous like Riojas and Riberas, but Catalan wines are not, apart from certain areas, not as well known, and I think we have a treasure trove of wines here. So
Yes. Yeah, for me it's incredible. Like if you look at Catalonia, I think you have over 1,000 winemakers in all of Catalonia, if you count all of them into it, and it's amazing the variety, the differences between the wines and the regions. So we have different concepts. Of course, we also have this classic tasting with 5 wines and some stories to it, but one concept that we have is a wine casino, and it's also our most popular concept, and it's exactly for the people who don't want to come sit down and just listen. And how it's working is you get 5 different wines, but you taste them blind, and then you have a board on the table and you get chips like in a real casino, and then you take these chips and you have to figure out what's the grape variety, what's the vintage of the wine, what's the country where it's coming from, and if it has oak aging or not, and then you place them on these different fields, and if you have the correct answer you get more chips back. If you have the incorrect answer, it's like in a real casino, the bank gets the chips. What we realized by doing this concept is that people are oftentimes more interested in wine that they think they are, but they need to learn it in a different way. So a lot of times after the tasting or after this experience, people say us, "Oh my God, that was different. I had fun and I learned something about wine." So wine can also be a cool topic, because like a lot of times people think it's really snobby or theoretical or complicated or something like this. And we also work on a Spanish version of this, and where we also want to include the lesser known regions. Of course, there's Rioja is amazing, Priorat is amazing, Ribera del Duero is amazing, but I think you have, especially in Catalonia and also in other parts of Spain, you have amazing regions with so many small wine producers, with so many families that produce wine. I think we talked about 2 days ago, we talked about Andrea and Aida Miro, which are two really, really young people who started making wine before they were even allowed to drink it legally. And I think that's such a beautiful thing that we want to share and that we want to tell a story about, so that people know more about the local small treasuries than the big ones.
Yeah, and I think it also makes people feel a little bit more confident at the moment, to try wines and to expand their trying different types of wines, and also asking for wines in restaurants. I think people are often a little bit scared to ask, or to ask for advice, or to, if people don't know too much. So I think these kind of tastings can bring the wine closer to the general public.
Yes.
As you say, to people who don't know about wines, or people who are wine lovers, or even professionals. I mean, it's a never-ending world of study and of learning, I think.
100%. Maybe I quickly share the story of my first wine tasting that I ever did. I will never forget it. I was obviously already nervous because it was the first wine tasting in my life. And there were 2 people coming in from the UK. They came 10 minutes too late. And one of the first things they said is, we don't even actually like wine, but we are here on vacation. And we think, okay, if you go to Spain, you need to do a wine tasting. And obviously I was even more nervous than at the beginning. But with the approach of not reading out technical facts about the wine, but telling interesting stories about the wine itself, about Spain as a wine country, they left the place and said, like, actually, wine is not that bad. And for me, it was obviously a big accomplishment. But I think that's, at least for me personally, and also at our place, and I think for a lot of people, it should be the goal to bring wine closer to people, not to be a teacher, not to explain everything in detail, but to show the fascination of the topic of wine and what a beautiful thing it is. Because if you compare it with other alcoholic beverages or with other things, I don't think there's anything as close to wine in other things, nothing as labor intensive and
with such a
beautiful.
history and such magic.
A history,
yeah.
yes.
I mean, there are perhaps like sake or things like that have a certain mystique to them and magic, but I think wine is definitely at the top of the list.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to share this with other people.
Yeah. And how many people do you have a maximum as groups of people?
It's a bit different. So we can have like small private tastings with 6-8 people, but we can do up to 30-35 people. And so if it's a bigger group, we have a concept which is a wine quiz night. Because we thought, okay, also for bigger groups, we need to offer something. And so it's a bit related to the pub quiz that you maybe know from Irish pubs. We come, you are in different groups and you have to answer questions. And so we thought, okay, let's do this, but with wine. So we have 4 different categories. There's some guest questions involved. For example, what's the most expensive bottle of wine ever sold? Some wine knowledge questions, and also some trivia questions related to arts, music, culture, and things like this. And it's obviously the fun. There's a lot of fun involved for the participants and for the people, but they again learn something about wine, and they learn, okay, wine is a cool topic. And so everything between 6 and 35 people, we have different concepts for them, and we are happy to welcome everybody who wants to learn about wine and who wants to have a great experience.
And are they primarily tourists or locals, or?
I love the mixture of the people we have, actually, because it's different from month to month. So in the summertime, it's a bit more tourists. In the wintertime, it's a bit more locals. But we also have a lot of expats. So you can come to a tasting and you have 10 people, and you have people from 10 countries all around the world. And it is really amazing because you get to hear different stories also from the people, and you get to hear different backgrounds. What's their story with wine? Because if you talk with somebody from Spain, they know way more about wine than somebody from Denmark, for example, because in Spain, wine is so much more rooted into the culture, and it's really interesting to hear different perspectives. And so, if you come to a public tasting, you can meet people from all around the world, which is also fun for me as a sommelier to not only have German tourists.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And your when you have people come to your wine cellar, and you have like a visit to the vineyards and stuff, and then they try how many wines? Are there different packs or offers that you have?
No, we have 2 packs right now. We have the pack that they call Eco Visit or Eco Visit, that is more focused in the wine tour between the vineyards and all the things, and then another package that we are more focused in the history. And then we have the safari between the vineyard, that we have different jeeps, and then with a guide that go through the mountain, and just we touch the fossil, we touch the soil, we make a different exercise with the different flowers and things. Well, it's much more introducing in the landscape.
And do you have like a picnic or something? Do you have local produce?
No, because we have there is a restaurant over there in Viladellops, so the people after the enoteries, they can enjoy the restaurant. That restaurant, we don't run the restaurant. There's people that they are running by himself the restaurant, but you can choose they make the enoteries, and then you stay here in having the lunch.
Obviously, they have some of your wines at the restaurant.
Of course.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Yeah, I think also, are the people that visit you, are they more locals or tourists or?
No, we are more tourist people.
Yeah.
Well, we have like 75% tourist people, and then we have 25% of local people. Local people that most of them they came from Barcelona and metropolitan areas. But we are open every day, so just everything is under the web, viladellops.com, and you can reserve the tour, and they just came to Viladellops and making the visit.
Yeah, because I mean, we at DC Vineyard Experiences, we do vineyard wine cellar visits, and most of our clients are internationals. It's strange how, I don't know why it is that it's local people don't seem to, and I think people here love wine, but it's a little more difficult for them. I think in other parts of the world, like perhaps in California, a lot of the clientele of the wine sellers are actually Californians. Whereas here, it seems to be more difficult to get people to go out and visit wine cellars. Do you agree? What do you think?
Probably. I don't know why. Probably there are some wineries that they are much more focusing local people, and other wineries they are much more focused in
tourist
people and well.
And what do you think, Marcelo, what do you think the wine panorama looks like in the next, and also you, Marcel, afterwards, in the next, say, 10, 20 years?
Well, I think that when I started in the wine industry, when I was 26, many years ago, I think that they are in Catalonia, having in the last 30 years, they changed so much. So right now in the Barcelona Wine Week, that will be next week, it's difficult to find bad wines. You know, many years ago, it was plenty of bad wines. So I think that in Catalonia and in Spain and all over the world, we improve a lot of wines, and they are fantastic wines. So in the next years, this improvement will be, the market, there will be great wines. But you have something that is going to be very difficult. That is the climatic change. This is one thing that to control, and we are going to change a little bit the manage of the vineyard right now in different ways to make the vineyard, to plant the vineyards much more, not as tight, but much more separated. But there are different techniques. And also in the wine business has been right now the wine, they are changing. So many years ago, the top of the wines used to be the red, and right now the market, they are demanding more whites. People, they say that there are people that are demanding more wines without alcohol, but for me this is not wine.
No, I agree.
You know, if you like wine, you can drink only a glass of wine. If you drink more than one glass of wine, you know what's happened, because the wine has some alcohol. So wines without alcohol, I think that, well, it's something that is nice. Well, sometimes I drink a beer without alcohol. But if you want to enjoy a glass of wine, you have to enjoy the glass of wine with everything.
I
with
agree.
the tannins, with the polyphenols, with the acid, with the alcohol, with
sugar,
everything.
yeah, absolutely.
So the market, it will change. Yeah, of course it will change. So sometimes the wine, it's something that is trendy. Years ago, it was trendy, this kind of powerful wines. Right now, they are looking for more
lighter-bodied,
light-bodied wines. Natural wines, they appear as well. So all the times the trendy wines, they are movement. So, but of course there are some vineyards, some wineries that, for example, Finca Viladellops, that we are not in the trendy fashion wines. So we are focused to make the best every year. So probably the world, they will change a lot. But the wineries, well, they don't change as much as the world, because right now they are changing everything, no?
Yeah, I hope a bit that obviously that wine in general will keep its relevance, because I think now we are like going into directions with the wine. I think like natural wine, again, to bring up this topic, or a lot of wine regions make wine more relevant. But if you look at the world wine consumption, the consumption goes down and down and down. And my hope is a bit, and I'm also really confident about this, that in the future wine will still be super relevant, and it's more the low quality and the super cheap wines that will go away, because people drink other things in this one. But with educating the people, that they will still drink a great bottle of wine from wherever it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was in a webinar the other day about non-alcoholic or very low alcoholic wines. and it's true. I think after all the effort it takes to make a good wine, to then take the alcohol out and then have to add other things to balance it again, doesn't make, in my humble opinion, much sense. I would rather have an orange juice.
Yeah, it's a bit like you paint a beautiful picture, and then you decide to take away the color red from it. And so I think wine needs to be enjoyed how the winemaker wanted to make it and what he created with it, and then this without alcohol. You also taste the difference, obviously, and so it's taking something away. So better enjoy one glass of wine, but then fully enjoy it instead of a half a bottle, but without alcohol.
Okay, well, we're gonna go for our last bit of music, and then we'll be back in a second. So here we are back again in our last minutes of the show. Before we continue, I'd just like to ask you, Marcelo, also, we had an excellent ancestral the other day in the wine tasting, which was such a treat. Could you just tell us about the wine making of an ancestral? What the method is?
Well, to make an ancestral is a sparkling wine. It's the way that before Dom Perignon discovered the método tradicional, the méthode champenoise, is the way that they used to make this kind of sparkling wine. So the people didn't know why in the bottles in springtime, because they making the carbonic inside of the bottle. So, and every year it was something that sometimes they were sparkling, sometimes some year there was not any kind of carbonic. Sometimes the bottles they crash because there are too much pressure in the bottle. So it was something very amazing and very different every year. So it was Dom Perignon that discovered that, first of all, they will make the wine, they will keep it at least for 8 months at the cellar, and then we put some yeast and some sugar, and they will start the second fermentation, and with that all this mix they will add in the bottle. In all the bottles they will ferment it in the same way. This is the method of champenoise. What's happened with the ancestral? Ancestral is the way that you cannot make industrial production, because you only can do it by the moment that the grapes are ripe. That means that you go to the vineyard, you make the harvest, you bring to the cellar, and then you press the grapes, and these grapes already you have the juice, and the juice they will start fermenting because they have the yeast. So by the moment that they starting this fermentation, you put in the bottle. So what's happened? It's a very natural fermentation. The only thing that they will ferment it is the sugar that came from the grapes, that they are fructose, because sometimes if you add sugar in the second fermentation, it's sugar that becomes from the cane or from the beet. So it's saccharose, it's different, the sugar. So what's happened in the ancestral, it's so many types of ancestral. That means that the ripe of the grapes, the moment that you add this kind of fermenting juice in the bottle, there's many types of ancestrals. So there is not, when talking about ancestral, there are too many types of ancestral. So the best thing I always recommend it, if you want to taste an ancestral, you have to go a wine shop and you have to ask what type of ancestral do you want to taste. So I will start recommend you to ask for an ancestral that to be as much more similar to like a champagne or cava. This kind fresh nose, not aggressive carbonic, clean, clean sparkling, things like that. And then you can move to more radical ancestrals, because there are some of them that they are very radical. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did, thank you. Okay, so we have a few minutes left. Marcel, do you have any funny stories to tell us about your wine tastings?
I do. So obviously I'm meeting a lot of people at the wine tastings, and we were talking just about adding things to wine. And so I mentioned the wine casino before, and what the people get when they join is they get like a small paper. It's explaining grape varieties and the acidity level of these grape varieties, and also aromas you find in it. And I still remember it was like a year ago. It was a group of 10, 12 girls from the UK. They were between 20 and 23. So I already loved it that they came to a wine tasting at such a young age. And one of these girls was reading the document, and she was reading the word pineapple, and she was like, Marcel, is there pineapple in the wine? And I was like, yeah, there could be the aroma of pineapple in the wine. Yeah, but like, did they add pineapple to the wine? Because I'm allergic to pineapple. And it took me like 2 minutes to process a bit what she just said, because she really thought that the aromas of a wine come because you add pineapple to it, and because you add apple to it, and you put some oranges into it. Not everything is a sangria, obviously. So obviously it's a funny thing in this moment, but I still appreciate that she came to a tasting, and that's also the role of a sommelier in this moment to not necessarily fun of the person, but to make a quick joke. You can do this especially in a private group, but also to educate the people in this moment, especially if they came to a tasting, because then they wanted to learn something.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm still always thinking back about it with a big smile.
And what are your plans for the future? Do you have any specific plans, or?
So for like me personally, or at Salud? So
no, both. I mean, I don't know. Depends. I
Yeah.
don't know whether it includes Salud or not. So.
Yeah, it does. So when it comes to Salud, it's creating more experiences, different experience for people, because you have wine casino, we have the wine quiz night, but I think there's so much more that we can do, and we also want to expand the activities that we are doing. Is it vineyard visits? Is it organizing tastings at offices, for example, because there's bigger companies? Maybe one day we will bring out our own wine. Who knows? And when it comes to me personally, what I love to do is to realize culinary visions. That's a bit the thing that I also love about Salud, because we have a vision, we have something that we want to create, and I'm happy about realizing this. And in the future, let's see what it brings. Maybe there will be other people that I'm working with to create cool things together with.
Yeah, I think it's good to create connections with people that.
Yes.
I mean, like we met the other day, and
Exactly.
and that's so nice, and also with Marcelo. So I think it's so nice to be able to connect with people from different parts of the wine world. So Marcelo, if you were a wine, what wine would you be, and why?
I don't know, but probably, sometimes, when you're making wine, you have to taste a lot of wines, and then at the end, you have to create the wine that you like it. So the wines that I like it is kind of not powerful wines, not very light wines, but this kind of wines that have to be very balanced between alcohol and acidity. So, what is the wine that I used to like to be? You know, the wines that I make it. You know, I think that the elegance, a good balance. But of course, I always say one thing, one joke. What is the best wine in the world? I ask you to you, Marcel. For me, the best wine in the world. You know what I mean?
Can I tell you, because I think
Yeah.
We have the same answer to it,
Oh,
the
probably.
one that you like the most. Maybe it's
probably-
different.
yeah, no. I always say the best wine in the world is the wine that you put in, you serve in the restaurant, and you don't arrive to the main course, and the bottle is finished.
Yeah.
This is the wine that they enjoy it with your company, with your wife, with your husband, whatever, with your friends, and the wines that they are, to be very drinkable, to be easy to drink and enjoyable. This for me, this is the best wine. Of course, there are plenty of nice and fantastic wines all over, and the wines that maybe you, Dominic, you love it, is not the wine that you love, Marcel. So there are different tastings and different wines. So what the wine that I want to be? A good wine.
Well, yeah, actually, it's funny when you were describing the wine that you were describing. You were saying balanced and elegant and sort of, and it sounds a bit like the way you are.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds no, Marcelo. I don't know him much, but he seems like a very calm, balanced.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, so you kind of describe yourself there. And how about you, Marcel?
I think that's a really difficult question to answer. So yeah, I think it also depends a bit on the day and the moment I'm in. But I think probably like a German Pinot Noir, because I think like German wine in general is really underrated. I think like of course Riesling is famous, but if you ask someone who like what do you have in Germany besides Riesling, and if you ask them what do you think about German Pinot Noir, people always say like I don't know, acidity not that good, and coming from a cold region. And I think we have a German Pinot Noir actually right now, and if people drink it, oh my god, that's actually surprisingly good, and it's really intense and has a lot of aromas, not too much acidity. It's an amazing Pinot Noir, and like if people taste it blind, usually it's their favorite. And maybe something like this, like having a good amount of acidity, intense, and always good for a surprise.
Good.
I mean, I will like, if you have one moment, ¿cómo se dice? Invite to everybody, you know, to try, if you drink always Tempranillo, Rioja, or Ribera de Duero, you know, try to change every week, every wine. You know, I always say that you cannot change your wife and your husband every week because it will be too much expensive, of course. But you have to change every week, every wine. So, and after 3-4 months, you will be enjoyable and you will be amazing view of the wine business. Okay?
That's a good way to end the program. So thank you so much, Marcel, for being here.
Thank you very
And
much for the
Marcelo.
invitation.
Thank you.
And I would definitely I would suggest that you go and visit both Marcel's wine tasting and Marcelo and your wife, Maria José, and your vineyard and wine cellar, because I definitely think it's worth a visit. So thank you so much for being here to the two.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.